everybody, and welcome to this episode of Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr., part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm documenting life's moments through photography, videography, and now podcasting. And today I have a very special guest that I've been waiting to get on my show for quite a while. She's got the ripped jeans attitude, the troublemaker herself, Payton Howie. Payton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. And so I really appreciate you coming on because I know you're busy between the traveling between Texas and California and Nashville and all that you have to do in between. But where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Texas today and I'll be in California tomorrow. Oh, no, not tomorrow. The day after tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, you're going back and forth. You're all over the place. And, what do you like about being in Texas now that's kind of like, well, I know Nashville's kind of your home too, but being in Texas, how do you like that versus California and the pros and cons of each?
Oh, man. I mean, there's a lot of things that I loved about California, and there's a lot of things that I still do love about California. But I got to say, gas prices, gas prices are ridiculous out in California. But I mean, the things I love about Texas is just, it's so beautiful. There's so much green and there's so much just like land when you're driving, that feeling when you're driving, you're just going for a long time. Which is, I mean, makes drives a bit longer out in Texas. But like the music scene in Texas is just insane, and like the historical musical like lineage of people that have just come before me and all the other artists that are out here in Texas doing things. It's just insane to get to be a part of that now that I'm here and playing shows so often out here. And I mean, California has its own music scene and has all that too. But I mean, Texas is just kind of where it's at right now, and I'm loving it out here.
Yeah, and contrast the two music scenes between Texas and California because personally, I'm not too familiar with the California scene, but growing up in Texas, you have your traditional country and what's played on the radio, but then you also have this thing called Texas country with people like Pat Green and that sort of thing. So, kind of tell me a little bit about the two and the differences between the two.
Oh yeah, there's a huge difference, and it's insane because being from California and then spending a lot of time out in Nashville, you don't hear a lot about the Texas country artists. You'd hear more about, the up and coming that are, in the Nashville scene, on those like on the radio stations and stuff like that. That's what you hear more about. But being in Texas, I've just learned that there's just some crazy talent in Texas that kind of stays just in the Texas area. I've had the opportunity to open up for Bree Bagwell, and I just met Aaron Watson last weekend. He played the Humble Rodeo, and I played the VIP area right before he went on. And it's just really cool to get to meet artists like that are huge out in Texas. It's just insane, and there's a huge Texas scene that I just feel like everyone needs to know about now.
Right, definitely. And your music itself, do you think it kind of fits more into the traditional country, maybe a little bit of the Texas, or a combination of the both?
I feel that my music fits in to a little bit of both because, I have certain songs that are more on the country rock side. And then I have other songs like Country Before Me that are a bit more traditional. And I don't know, I have like a love for all of those different kinds of genres of music and different styles. And I'm just grateful that I have the creativity and the ability to be able to do that, and I have the freedom to be able to include different traditional things here or some more modern rock style in here, and it's kind of a mix.
And you mentioned "Country Before Me." That is your latest single that you have out, and I think it's doing really well. And
Thank you.
I like it because I am part of that set of people that love the traditional stuff. And me being a little bit older, I go back a little bit further than you as far as that stuff. But tell me, what made you want to write something about some of these past stars, and some of them are still playing. And what was the inspiration for this song?
Man, I think about what the industry is like now for girls and for women that are doing what I do and writing music, releasing music, having it played on the radio, playing shows, and I think about how none of that would be possible without the women in country music like that I mentioned in the song, like Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn and like Reba going out there and just being bold and just really feisty and having that attitude that kind of changed people's minds and allowed people to view women as equal artists and view women as just, people that were out there kicking butt and taking names like the guys have been doing for such a long time. And they just have, a lot of them have just some of the most insane stories, and they've been held down by so many things, and they've overcome so much. And it's so cool to get to hear their life stories through all their music.
Right, and they were definitely pioneers in their time, and they stood out because of that. But as you're coming into the music industry now, do you feel that it's still tough on females?
I don't feel so now that it is. I know some people do feel that it is, and I really think it depends on where you're looking, and I think it depends on where you are. Um, I think a lot of time nowadays, and I'm a huge fan of a lot of the artists that are putting out music today's, like a lot of the female artists that are topping the charts. I'm a huge fan of all, like, any kind of style of music, but I feel that the female side of country music has gone very pop and very I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, very kind of flowery. And I think
Mhm.
that if you look back and maybe even just a couple years ago, like the Gretchen Wilsons of the world, and kind of the older Miranda Lambert style, that where it's more like grungy female country music. There are a few artists that are doing that and that are kind of bringing it back. Like you look at like Morgan Wade or Ashley McBride, and it's like there's a couple artists out there that are doing that, and it's just it's really cool to see that there's some artists that are out there trying to bring that back. But I think for a while that female country music has been very soft, and I know a lot of people were getting frustrated that there weren't many women on like festival lineups. It was mainly guys, which I think, okay, you could include a couple girls in there, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, if you look at it, the guys are putting out some rowdy country music that is very festival like, and a lot of girls aren't doing that.
Okay. And I do know that that is part of your style, like you mentioned in before, is that, you have some grit to your music, and, I think that kinda describes you as a person that just kinda influences into your music, correct?
Yeah, and that's why I think Country Before Me I was really excited to kind of show a softer side to my style. And I'm glad that it was on the topic of those women in country music, because I felt that deserved a little bit of somberness and seriousness. So I definitely think there's a place in that time and place for that, of course.
Well, I know I definitely like it, and I see you have a guitar, so would you be willing to play country
Yeah,
before me here on Hank's Corner?
of course. Before I play, I gotta say this is probably one of my favorite songs I've put out so far. And I've had the honor of writing this song with Eric Halbig and Michael Austin and Joanna Yeager out in Nashville. So thanks to them for being a part of this. And this one's called Country Before Me. It was strong, the bold, those that paved less traveled roads. It was the dreamers, believers, and tortured souls. The lines they walked in, the ones they didn't. Told them no, but they didn't listen. They knew their lives through the stories on the radio. Guitars were still, and I still feel every cry and note they sing is standing in that opry rain. You know those roots run deep in the country before me. We wore coats and many colors, crazy and coal miners' daughters, fancy from an Oklahoma plain. We were country when it wasn't cool, bound to make your brown eyes blue. We were just two sparrows in a hurricane. Guitars were still, and I still feel every cry note they sang was standing in that opry rain. No, those roots run deep. Country before rain. Guitars were still, and I still feel every cry note they sang, standing in that opry rain. Guitars were still, and I still feel every cry note they sang, standing in that opry rain. No, those roots run deep. No, those roots, they run deep. Thank you.
And that was Payton Howie singing "Country Before Me" here on Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. And I just love some of those lines that you put into that song there. Before country was cool. That was me. As a kid, because country wasn't always cool. It really wasn't. And I remember sometimes being in school, like, yeah, so there were sometimes you would like say, "Well, I'm not a country fan," and some of the popular stuff was the pop or the R&B stuff, but definitely love hearing that. And that's going to be on your upcoming EP, right, Young Blood?
Yeah, that's going to be on the upcoming EP.
Okay, and that's going to be released on February 18th, correct?
That's right.
All right, so you be on the lookout for that. And so tell me, how did you get started with all this? Because, I heard that it started when you were 5 years old and you were pulled on stage by somebody very special.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think everybody can think back and remember to their, experience of their very first concert. And that was mine. I was 5 years old and my mom took me to my very first concert. And it was, oh my gosh, a little over the top. She had me dressed in this like little jean mini skirt and like pink cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. And it was like this outdoor kind of arena thing. And we were getting kind of shoved out of the aisle. People were throwing their hands up and dancing, and we kind of were getting shoved out into the aisle. And so I was out in the middle of the dirt aisle, just like dancing around, and the lights were panning across the audience. And one of them stopped on me while I was dancing, and the girl on stage singing, she stopped and she crouched down and she told her security guards, like, "Hey, go grab that little girl and bring her up on stage." And it ended up being Carrie Underwood. And this was back in, oh man, I want to say 2000, 2005, 2006. It was right after she got off of American Idol, and she brought me up on stage, and I was like just 5 years old, sitting there holding her hand, and we were singing and dancing. And it was crazy because I always remembered that moment, like feeling the music under your feet and getting to look out and see like a crowd of people just like singing the songs back to you, and all just coming together through music. It's such a universal thing. And I just remember that experience. And as I've, grown up, gotten older, and, when I was 15, 16, I started teaching myself to play guitar, and I started playing shows, and that experience just became larger in my mind, realizing, oh my gosh, it was Carrie Underwood, because 2005, she just got off her American Idol and just dropped her, album, whatever, Some Hearts. And it was just so crazy to think about how big she's become now. And now that I'm like, I can say that actually happened.
So I'm assuming you haven't met her since then.
Oh no, of course not.
So I'm sure when you get the chance to meet her, that story is going to come right up, and talk about how that inspired you. And do you do the same thing when you get up on stage, or that's not something that's part of your show yet? But do you ever bring people up, little girls or like that, to come sing along with you and pass on that inspiration?
Oh yeah, I love getting to do that. I've had I remember back in my hometown, I used to frequently play this one area down in a town in California called Fallbrook. And there was this one little girl, and she used to always come and see me play. And her parents would bring her. And she was, when I met her, I think she was like 6 or 7. and she was just the cutest thing. And they literally, like, her parents made a t-shirt like before I even had merch, and like I used to bring her up and we would sing songs together, and it was super cute because during COVID it was her birthday, and it was right when COVID hit, and so she had to cancel her birthday party. So I hopped on live stream and I did a whole, like, live stream show for her, and for her birthday. And so yes, I've loved getting to be kind of an influence on younger girls, and even kids in general that come up to me at shows, or people that are my age, even, that are like, hey, like, how did you learn to play guitar, or like, how do you get up and sing? I'm like, honestly, anyone can do it. It's just having that artistic passion to do something like that. And I just feel like I want to tell everybody that, because if you can do it and you have the ability to do it, like, share it with other people.
And that's awesome, and do you feel that you already are a role model? And if so, does that kind of put any pressure on you at all? Or is it just something, "Hey, I'm gonna be who I am and be honest and truthful and let them pick up on it," or do you have to be a little bit careful about what you say and do, being a role model?
I definitely think that I've had to learn to be more careful. I mean, I've had experiences before where I've never really thought that I was, like, oh, I'm not like, I'm an influencer, because I'm not like larger than life at all. Like, I don't think that of like myself or anything like that. But I remember the first time that it hit me that I was like, okay, like, I'm influencing younger generations was, I had this girl on my Instagram, and she always comments on my posts, and she's just the sweetest thing. And we followed each other on social media from way back when I started, and her name is Dulce, and she's just the sweetest thing. And I remember one year I played the Fourth of July parade in Julian, California, and I was on a truck and I was playing, and there was like thousands of people there, and it was so fun. I played this Fourth of July parade. And I never met her, but she said, I saw you at the Fourth of July parade, and ever since then I've been following your music. And she told me, she goes, I had to write a paper in my freshman English class about someone that influenced my life, and I wrote about you. And I just, like, it blew my mind, because I never thought like that I was able to touch people in that way. I knew the feeling of, you're playing a bar gig and you play someone's favorite song and they're singing and dancing and having a good time. Like, I get that, but like, having someone write about you influencing their life is really changing. And it does. I feel the responsibility to be, just a good person and a good influence, and doing things that are going to change people's perspective going forward.
And I also bring that up because, we met over the summer, and I told you a little bit about my daughter who's playing baseball. And, because little girls like her, she can see you, and you're very different in that aspect with her, because she actually is just starting to pick up a guitar. And
Awesome.
I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but she just, she likes to play it, but she's also doing the sports as well. And that was something also you struggled with, you know debating on when was it time to leave softball and move into music. Tell us a little bit about how you made that choice.
Yeah, so I'd been playing softball since I was 5. I started, with T-ball like everyone does, and I just, took it with me through middle school, high school, and I was, working real hard playing on different travel teams, club teams, some people call them, and traveling to different states and playing in tournaments. And my goal was to get a college scholarship to play college ball. And out of high school, I started doing music, and then I also, I got a college scholarship to play Division II softball at a school in Colorado. And so when I graduated, I went to Colorado and played softball, and I was a full time athlete, a full time student, and a full time musician. Because on the weekends, I would travel back to California or other places and play shows, and then I'd come back Sunday night or Monday morning at like 2 in the morning, and I'd go to my 8 a.m.s, and I'd go to practice, weightlifting and all that. And like, I loved both of them, and I didn't want to give it up. And that was kind of like my parents and my family being such like a huge support system, saying, "Hey, like, if you love both of them, and as long as you can, do both. Like, why not? If I could." And I mean, yeah, I was tired a lot of the time, but I never had so much fun getting to do both of the things that I love most in the world. And um, right after I dropped Catch Flights, I then dropped F-150 a little bit later, and um, it got to the point where I had to pick one or the other because I couldn't, keep doing shows and traveling and keeping up with softball and school. And I remember we had a game, and it was my last game. And I remember getting up there and it being my last at bat. And I know anyone that's an athlete knows the feeling, like your last game or your last at bat or whatever your sport you're playing. And I remember thinking, man, this would really suck if I struck out right now.
Oh man.
And I remember I getting up there, and I hit a home run. It was my last at bat, and it ended up being an inside the park because it was a triple. Then there was an overthrow, and I turned it into a home run. And I remember thinking, I was like, all right, I'm good. Let's end on a high note. And so that was it. And I remember telling my coach, like, hey, like, this is it, kind of thing. And I remember thinking that, like, you never think as an athlete, you always dread like the moment you're going to hang your cleats up for the last time. And since then, I still have not opened my bag of catcher's gear or my glove. I've not touched it because I can't go there yet. But since then, I've been playing music all over, and I wouldn't have it any other way because music is something that I can take with me the rest of my life. There's no major league softball or anything. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
I'm glad
great
I
that
did
you
what I
got
did, but it was hard.
it's it's great that you got to end on a high note. So that's awesome. And that's one of the things that, I have to take into consideration with my daughter as she moves forward. I mean, she's doing baseball and she's playing with the boys and all that, but
How cool.
at some point, like you said, it's she's got to have something else to fall back on. So, and that's why I ask about, you realizing that you're a role model because it's people like you that, little girls will look up to. And so I mentioned that we met, earlier this year, and that was at Freedom Jam. And I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of you playing there at Freedom Jam. And then when we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about that.
For sure.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna share with you guys a song that I put out around Memorial Day weekend. This one's called Freedom, and I thought it was fitting to be playing it today for you guys here at Freedom Jam. So I hope y'all like it. It's time that that is over, flying down an older road. Running gas, no place to go. Been hitting the radio. Touchdowns on Friday night, sneaking sips of one cause night. His jersey fits just right. First kiss and I just might. That feels like freedom, freedom. Instead of fighting for freedom, freedom. But Lord, I'm thankful for it. Colors that don't run. I'm proud of where I'm from. That feels like freedom, freedom. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
And so that was Payton Howie at Freedom Jam singing a song that's totally appropriate for it was Freedom. And so tell me a little bit about that song and then tell me a little bit about how it was to be playing there at Freedom Jam because it was a great event that gave back to military personnel. And I think that that's got a special place in your heart for that. So tell me a little bit about the song and the performance.
Oh yeah, Freedom. That was a song that I wrote again with Michael Austin and Eric Halbig and Joanna Yeager. We were sitting there in Tennessee, and I personally I have a huge love and respect for our military, first responders, and anyone that's serving our country in any way, and especially their families that are going through that with them. I just thank them for our freedom, and if anyone watching is a service member, like thank you so much for our freedom and what you do for our country. So we were sitting there writing that song, and it's crazy because I know with the state that our country is in right now, you know, a lot of people have different opinions, different beliefs, and different standpoints. Everyone thinks something drastically different at most times.
Hmm.
And in that room, we all had different beliefs, opinions, you know, standpoints. We all kind of thought something different, but we were able to all sit down and write a song about what we love about our country and about the people that go out and fight for our freedom to live in this country and do what we do here. And so we were all sitting there talking about like the fact that we're able to all sit here and write a song despite the fact that none of us agree is freedom. That in itself is freedom. And so then we took that, we put it in a song, and from there we kind of brought the song to life with the music video, and that was really awesome to shoot. It was my first music video, and we kind of told the story of, you know, a young boy and young girl, and they fall in love straight out of high school, and he goes off and listens to the military kind of thing, and he comes home, and that was kind of like the story. And we wanted to embody like every, you know, everything that everyone thinks of when they think of freedom. You know, first time getting to drive your dad's truck when you turn
Hmm.
16, or, you know, Friday night lights, you know, football games, and then all the way up to realizing that there's people out there sacrificing their life for your freedom, even though they don't even know you. And I just have always had that love in my heart for those people and for those that are doing that for our country. And that's why it was such an honor to get to play it at Freedom Jam and play Freedom Jam and be there and get to shake all their hands. It was such an awesome experience.
Yeah, and I definitely keep promoting it here on Hank's Corner because Freedom Jam is becoming its own entity, and they're going to continue to do this, and they're giving back to the veterans. So thank you for coming out and doing that, and it was great to listen to that song there. But you mentioned a little bit about the video, and I think it was Kevin Garcia that did the video for you. Um, how is it, being in videos? Is it just something that because you got a new video out right now as well? And is this just something that you're having fun? Do you get stressed out about it? Or, tell me about your video making processes.
Well, honestly, it depends on the shoot. I will say Freedom was a hectic shoot. It was a 2-day shoot, and we did it here in Texas at a brewery called Southern Star, which shout out to them. They're so awesome. And they let us shoot the whole concert scene at their brewery, and they have this big stage, and we, had a ton of people come out. And the cool thing that a lot of people don't know, and maybe they do, is we invited all the local veterans to come and be there, and we provided food and beer for them to drink and stuff. And I really wanted there to be our local veterans in the video, so we had that. But it started raining, and so we're like, oh my gosh, because we have all this like expensive. And Kevin, he's shot for like Jay Leno, Shaka Khan, G-Eazy, like you name it, he's done it. And he's sitting there with his expensive gear, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's raining. So we made it. We got the shots. We got everything we needed, and literally the second we loaded everything up, just complete Texas downpour. It was insane. It turned out amazing. The video was just awesome, and I can't imagine it being any other way. But yeah, we barely escaped the rain on that one. And then Never Go Home. That we literally just threw a party and invited a cameraman. That was so chill, but that was also Kevin. And we literally just brought him out on a boat with a camera, and I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what we did. We threw a party and invited a cameraman.
And Never Go Home is, doing really well. Did you think it would be this successful as it's, getting, I mean, I don't even know the latest count of streams, but it's up there. And did you foresee that ahead of time? Did you just think, hey, people are going to catch on to the song right away?
I didn't expect it. I mean, I expected, people to enjoy it, and I expected people to be like, "Oh yeah, it's a party anthem," but I mean, it got picked up on quite a few editorial playlists on Spotify, which I think definitely helped it get out there and for people to hear it. And I'm so grateful it allowed it to kind of have other people hear my other music too, which is great. And then um, it's so interesting though, because Never Go Home was a song that was kind of a part of a project. So we wrote multiple songs around Never Go Home as well. And it's so interesting because I have a lot of songs that I've written that aren't released that are very, very intricate and personal, and you spend a lot of time on them. And then Never Go Home is just like, we're going to live while we can, put that drink in your hand, It's just,
Mhm.
I love Never Go Home. It's probably like got to be one of the funnest videos and songs that I've ever recorded. But it's always those fun, simple songs that just get people going.
Yeah, everybody loves that, and you can see, people out there in the summertime just, drinking and having a good time, and
Right.
that's a great song for it. So I'm glad you came out with that. But some of your earlier stuff, like Run Boy Run, tell us a little bit about that because you do kind of write sometimes, or maybe most times, from your personal experience. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Run Boy Run, and some people pick on up on it, and some people don't pick up on it. But Run Boy Run was actually had a little bit of inspiration from my song Troublemaker, and we took that song and kind of were like, oh yeah, I'll use some little parts in there, and kind of turned it into more of like a country rock song, and that is straight from a true story. I was dating this guy. Out in California when I lived there, and it was one of those relationships where it's either going to be like y'all are going to be together forever, or it's going to be like the worst heartbreak ever. It ended up being like that, and so I moved up to Texas starting out, and he was telling me he was going to come out there with me, and I was like, you're not ready, don't do it. But he ended up coming all the way out there with me. And I remember him being like, I'm going to make this work. It's going to be all right. And he ended up cheating, which was totally crazy. And I found out about it, and Run Boy Run was born because it was one of those situations where somebody does you wrong and they don't try and fix it. They just run away and they just keep on running because sometimes people are just like that. So
Yeah, and I definitely would love to hear you play it here on Hank's Corner.
for sure.
Kiss her in the dark and send her tell things you never tell nobody else. You're the match that lights a spark that drains a heart until that heart has nothing left. Boy, I promise right here honest, you can't outrun a guilty conscience. Gonna lose her, yeah, that truth hurts. I ain't gonna sit and watch you use her. Should already be long gone around, boyfriend. 'Cause I got that ripped jean attitude. Gonna make it hell for you. Boy, what's done is done. Karma, she's got a different point of view. Because of the way you played her, I'm gonna be your troublemaker. Took something you shouldn't take. Don't underestimate the hand you've been dealt. I'll give you 3 steps towards the goal. For you feeling pain you never felt. You should already be long gone around, boyfriend. 'Cause I got that ripped jean attitude. Gonna make it hell for you. Boy, what's done is done. And karma, she's got a outrun a guilty conscience. You should already be a long gone wrong boyfriend, 'cause I got that Red Jean attitude, gonna make it heavy. Boy, what's done is done. Karma, she's got a different point of view, because of the way you played her, because of the way you played her. I'm gonna be your troublemaker. I'm gonna be your troublemaker.
So you
Thank you
better
very
run,
much.
boy, run by Payton Howie there, and when are guys going to learn that if you're going to date a musician, that you better not screw around because then you're going to have a song written about you. But I guess men just don't learn.
No, they never do.
So, that's one of the songs that I like listening to, cruising around, and of course, F-150 I enjoy. I mean, every time I go wash my F-150 at the car wash, I love playing that song. So, you got a bunch of great music out, and
Thank you.
definitely love it. And I just can't wait till the new EP comes out. But aside from music, tell us a little bit about Peyton. What else is she doing, or is there time for anything else?
Well, I mean, honestly, the great thing about being, in the music industry and doing music full time, the best thing about it is it's just that's who I am. Like, I love, like, when I turn this camera off, I'm probably gonna sit here for another hour and play my guitar. I guarantee it. But I'm just saying, it's just like I love getting to play music all the time. But other than that, I love spending time with my friends and my family and Whiskey, of course. She's my infamous schnauzer that's pretty much all over my Instagram. And
Yeah, and I was gonna bring her up because I just saw that she got a haircut for the Super
oh
Bowl.
yes,
So
she did.
who is she rooting for, and who are you rooting for? Are we going for the California team, or we want the underdog?
I'm always kind of an underdog fan, and I mean, I've never been huge into football, but I've always been, one to root for the underdog. But it's kind of like, California. I don't know. I'm just gonna watch.
Well, I'm
I'm in
all
it for
about
the
the
commercials,
commercials.
honestly.
Yes, yes, that's it. So, I mean, and tell us a little bit more about maybe because I know that you like getting in the outdoors, correct?
Oh yeah, totally. That's got to be one of my favorite things. I love, out in Texas, we right by a lake, and so we always go out and jet skiing, or just driving around in something like that.
So, are there any shows that you're watching right now that you binge watch, or do you even have time for TV?
I mean, there's like a lot of the time, when I'm traveling, I'm on planes or driving or whatever, I always have like a series that, like I'm stuck on, and I mean, I was like always into series when I was flying, and then all of a sudden I just started reading, which is kind of a little more boring. But I was totally into Squid Games when that came out. I watched all of Squid Games in like a week, and I watched that for sure. Oh man, I got to think about it. I've always been a Riverdale fan, and there's no new seasons out now. I've watched them all already. But yeah, I'm looking for a new series. So if anyone's got any suggestions, please let me know.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So, like I said, we got the EP Young Blood coming out February 18th. So, everybody go out there and be ready to buy that. And besides that, is there anything else that we can expect from Peyton Howie in 2022?
Yeah, so I got the EP drop in on February 18th, and it's available for pre-save and pre-order, with any link in my bio on social media or on my website. And also, I have a ton of singles that I'm dropping throughout the year, and I'm going to be in the studio pretty much all year and playing shows all over. I think this year I am going to be traveling to more states, than I have ever. So I'm so excited about that.
Well, maybe you'll make it all the way out here to Florida. But Peyton, I appreciate you coming on the show. Like I said, I've been eager to have you on, and you're more than welcome to be a guest. You're on Hank's Corner anytime.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.